everyone, I'm Meghan Sullivan and welcome to my new series Show and Play, where I talk about a video game based on real history while showing you a real object from that time period. Today, we're talking about Alien Trap Studios' action platformer Apotheon, while showing you a clever device from ancient Greece meant to teach you a moral lesson. What's the lesson? Stay tuned to find out. Oh, and if you like what you see in the video, be sure to like and subscribe. So with that, let's play and learn. Apotheon is a beautiful open-world side-scrolling platformer with a narrative based on ancient Greek mythology and a visual aesthetic based on ancient Greek pottery. In the game, the gods of Olympus have abandoned humanity, leaving them to perish without their benevolence. It's thus up to the hero Nicandrios to take up arms against the gods and attempt to climb Mount Olympus in order to take their divine power and ensure mankind's survival. Apotheon is a unique and enjoyable experience that has a lot of cool and accurate details about Greek mythology, and even features interesting bits of history, including a readable excerpt from the Iliad. In short, I highly encourage people to check it out. But why even make a game that's based on myths and ancient pottery? Well, according to Alien Trap's Jesse McBinney, Apotheon actually started as more of an open-world sci-fi game, but after adding some Greek gods into the mix, decided that fully committing to an ancient Greek theme was the way to go. And it worked out well, since ancient Greek pottery already features 2D characters, which is perfect for a platformer since all you have to do is make the 2D characters move around the screen. Now, what I really appreciate is the developer's willingness to use their imagination to fill in the blanks while trying to stay true to the source material. For example, because Greek art rarely features any type of environmental background, the different stages in Apotheon are more or less made from scratch. But because the visual integrity of archaic Greek pottery remains intact, like the emulation of the black figure style, the use of simple but rich primary colors, and the presence of strong angles and curving spirals, the game manages to offer diverse environments without taking the player out of the experience. This feeling of authenticity carries over into the combat, which takes its cues from first-person slashers like Mount and Blade, forcing the player to rely on timing and positioning in order to win battles. And you have a lot of battles in this game, which probably leaves your hero rather thirsty. Which brings me to the special object that I wanted to show you. Yes, this looks like an ancient Greek wine cup, but this is no ordinary drinking vessel. Let me show you why. I'm going to fill it all the way up to the top. Oh no, my wine! Where is it going? Why would I spend almost $20 on a leaky cup? Let alone two? Well, they're both actually supposed to do that. You see, this is a Pythagorean or Pythagorean cup, also known as a greedy cup, fair cup, cup of justice, or Tantalus cup. It's said to have been invented by the ancient Greek mathematician, philosopher, and mystic Pythagoras. Pythagoras was born on the Greek island of Samos in the mid-6th century BCE, and throughout antiquity was credited with numerous mathematical and scientific discoveries, including, of course, the famous Pythagorean theorem, which describes the geometric relationship between the three sides of a right triangle. The truth is, however, a lot of these discoveries were probably either made by the students at his esoteric school in southern Italy, or later credited to him simply due to his legendary status. And one of those clever discoveries, or in this case inventions, comes in the form of this silly cup, which when filled beyond a certain point loses the entirety of its contents. But how does it work? Well, first notice that the cup has a column in it. Ooh, how very ancient Greek. This column is positioned directly over the stem of the cup, which has a hole in the bottom. Now, hidden in the column is a U-shaped tube. This small tube runs from the hole in the bottom of the cup all the way up and over to a hole in the bottom of the column that exposes the tube to the contents of the cup. As you fill the cup with wine or water or beer or, whatever you want, the liquid goes through the hole in the bottom of the column and rises up through the tube. As long as your wine doesn't reach the top of the tube, you're fine. But if the liquid reaches the top, a siphoning effect is created, and gravity sucks all of the liquid out of the cup via the longer part of the tube connected to the hole in the bottom of the stem. By the way, apparently most modern toilets operate on the same principle. So there you go, it's kind of impressive. But why even make this cup in the first place? Well, some say it was Pythagoras' way of teaching his students, who lived in a communal setting where everyone had to share and rations were equal, about greed. However, when I bought these cups at a Greek festival a couple of years ago, they came with a card that offered a much more intriguing theory. Here's what the maker of this pair of cups had to say about their creation. Tradition says Pythagoras, during water supply works in Samos around 530 BCE, moderated the workers' wine drinking by inventing the fair cup. When the wine surpasses the line, the cup totally empties, so the greedy one is punished. Now in this case, the greedy ones probably wouldn't have been students. They would have most likely been slaves, or perhaps even prisoners from the nearby island of Lesbos, brought over to the island of Samos after losing a naval battle to the tyrant Polycrates. It's also possible these cups weren't about greed at all, but were actually handed out as a way to ration precious water amongst the workers, since after all the whole reason they were building an aqueduct was because of a water shortage on Samos. At any rate, according to the little card I got, it was around this time that Pythagoras fled Samos. And although we don't know for sure why he left, in my headcanon at least, it's because these cups, which are small and don't offer a whole lot of water or wine to combat the dehydrating effects of the blazing hot Greek sun, almost caused a riot with the workers, and Polycrates was like, "Who invented these stupid cups?" And Pythagoras was like, not me," and hightailed it out of there before he got into trouble. Okay, I seriously doubt that happened. It's much more likely Pythagoras just didn't want to live under a tyrant, or at least this particular tyrant. This is just a theory of mine, but it's possible Pythagoras' family was on the wrong side of a civil war between Polycrates and his brothers for control of Samos, and decided to leave the island voluntarily after Polycrates won, but we'll never know for sure. In the meantime, he or someone invented this little practical joke cup, which, fun fact, is first mentioned in ancient sources by Heron of Alexandria, who lived in the 1st century AD. Now sadly, we don't have any real-life examples of this cup from the time of Pythagoras, but in 2012, archaeologists in Croatia discovered a hoard of silver vessels from the late Roman period, including a large 4th century bowl with a figure sitting on an elevated rock. Just like a Pythagoras cup, this bowl had a central column with a U-tube in it that, when filled to the top, would siphon out any liquid in the cup, not only spilling wine all over the unsuspecting drinker, which is really hard to get out of clothes by the way, but making it look like the liquid in the bowl the figure is seen reaching for is draining away from him. This is a clever reference to the myth of Tantalus, who is famous for suffering from eternal hunger and thirst in the underworld as punishment for killing his own son, chopping him up, and serving him to the gods as dinner, just to see if they'd notice, which they did. And just like in the same way water and food recedes away from Tantalus in the underworld, wine recedes away from the greedy drinker if they try to fill this huge silver bowl all the way up to the top. By the way, the story of Tantalus is where we get the word tantalizing from. At any rate, this bowl is physical proof that the Pythagoras cup really existed in antiquity, and that it really was meant to teach us all a lesson. Greed doesn't pay. And that's it for this episode of Show and Play. Did you enjoy it? Did you learn anything new? Have any suggestions for a future episode? Leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you later!